Tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. We mentioned that David Njoku is banged up right now, and Fannin's gotten a recent bump from Dillon Gabriel. That offense is a little limited. Fannin, though, not feeling any of that. 10 targets, 7 catches, 81 yards in Week 6 here, Matthew. If Njoku's out, I mean, you feel even better about his target share.
He also had a 78% route participation, a 90 utilization score. That was 5th best among all tight ends last week. It's a nice match with Miami that allows the 5th most yards per game to opposing tight ends. And so Dillon Gabriel, who is seems like the definition of a short-armed, just kind of,
quarterback.
Exactly, not a guy that wants to throw deep. Dillon Gabriel becoming the starter for the Browns has done a significant amount for Harold Fannin's fantasy value. After that first game of the year where he thought Fannin had this great camp and looks like he's immediately going to be part of their offense, then he sort of went down and Njoku. But with Njoku's injury and Gabriel becoming more comfortable, coming off the big game here against, last week, right, where he went 7 for 81 the week before. He caught a touchdown in the overseas game. So I think Fannin is pretty interesting. He's available in 73% of leagues.
Yeah, I mean, his quarterback is a guy who Stefanski trusts enough, seemingly. Dillon Gabriel dropped back to over 60 times in that game to pass, and he doesn't seem to be able to throw outside the numbers, doesn't throw down the field. It's all intermediate, middle of the field stuff, and so that's where your tight end shines.
And by the way, even with Njoku banged up, I think there's a scenario, which is better than average, that Njoku also gets dealt to another team, which obviously would open up playing time for Fannin down the stretch.
Stuntman Chuck says, Fannin the Flames. Pretty good there, Stuntman Chuck.
Better than most of Matthew's material.
Our next one, Cade Otton.
It is.
You mentioned him, Matthew, with all these wide receivers hurt. And we've seen this from Cade Otton. Last year, when they had some wide receiver injuries, his targets go up a little bit. And there's a rapport with him and Baker.
26% target share last week in Week 6. Actually, for the year, he leads all tight ends in snap rate, believe it or not. So he's been out there a lot. He just hasn't done much with it until recently. But when he gets a 20% target share, when he at least gets some looks, he's averaging almost 15 fantasy points per game. And as we talked about, no Ibuka, no Godwin, maybe no Evans once again. And so Cade Otton, who along with Sterling Shepard is one of the guys that has more of a history with Baker Mayfield, suddenly becomes interesting. The other guy I want to mention here real quickly is Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
Again, no Brock Bowers last week. We don't expect – Mayer scored the touchdown. Doesn't feel like Brock Bowers is trending towards playing this week. Had a 30% target share. They're at Kansas City. Laporta just had a nice game against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have struggled against tight ends this year. And so to your point about no Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers has been inconsistent. He obviously, Meyer runs very different routes than Trey Tucker. So you could see some viability for Michael Mayer. They're biased next week. The Raiders are bye next week. And so feels like you can make it, there's a strong argument to be made that hey, let's let Bowers have one more week of rest. We get to the bye and then we can come back with him.
Deep league targets here. Mason Taylor, he's got the Panthers. We'll circle back to him in just a second. Oronde Gadsden was on the field a lot more for the Chargers. Dalton Schultz, Chigakonkwo, and Tyler Higbee, Matthew. But Mason Taylor with a good matchup after a week where the Jets could not throw the ball at all against Denver.
Only one team in the NFL allows more fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends than the Carolina Panthers. So Mason Taylor, again, last week was just absolutely so brutal. I have to believe, Connor, and it seems like Aaron Glenn has basically said, no, Justin Fields is our guy. But he's got to be on a much shorter leash this week. If things start going south against the Panthers the way they did against the Broncos, it has to be Tyrod Taylor time, right?
Yeah, because you have to do right by the defense and the special teams that really gave you a shot to beat the Broncos. And no Garrett Wilson in this game.
Yeah.
So this is it.
There's a very real scenario where Mason Taylor leads the Jets in targets, receptions, receiving yards.
Saying DraftKings, it should be most likely.
Yeah.
I would think all his props are higher than Josh Reynolds, who would be the next guy.
Yeah, and of course we already got Alan Lazard heading to Pittsburgh, so
yeah, he's barely active.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Gadsden is also somebody we talked about him yesterday as well. I feel like we've talked about him for a couple of weeks here on this show. But 21% target share last week, second on the team, and this is a game that Will Dissly was active and healthy for. I just think Gadsden's a talented player. I watch a lot of Syracuse football, as you can imagine, having been a graduate of the Orange. And Gadsden's a nice player, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, you think of when they were rolling at times with Stone Smart as that third tight end. This is like the better version of that. Gadsden was breaking all kinds of records in the ACC. They used him as a big slot receiver that he's put on a lot of weight in recent years, too, where he could actually be a tight end now. So legit receiving skills and somebody that I think will grow into something. An offense that doesn't, like, they're not getting anything out of Tyler Conklin. There's a lot there for him opportunity-wise.
Yeah, definitely. Chico Conquo as well, just with the change, no more Brian Callahan, maybe creates a little bit more variance despite your point, Connor, of the same play caller there. Chico, I mean, he looks good, looks explosive, had a great burst, the yards after the catch on the weekend, so I've always liked Chico Conquo. He's not much of a ceiling there, but again, Calvin Ridley out, so the targets are going to go somewhere.
3 of the last 4 games, he's had at least 45 receiving yards. I will tell you, though, there's a kid on Tennessee, just for those of you in Dynasty Leagues, he may still be out there in some Dynasty Leagues, Gunnar Helm. They really like Gunnar Helm in Tennessee, and so I don't know if it's going to turn into fantasy production this year because, again, the offense is tough and Cam Ward is struggling, but just that's a super deep league. That's a Dynasty or Keeper League name. You know, Gunnar Helm, I think, is kind of interesting.
Yeah, Cam Ward gave him a lot of love over the summer when those two were working together during training camp.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.